I don't think so.
Okay, onto the bloodbath it is then, where it finished Salford 12, Leeds 38. Leeds managed to run up a 22 points to 8 first half lead. Robert Hicks was the busy match official. Another one with incomplete team stats. I can't remember who was missing, but someone was. Bodine Thompson. He never appears. Individually, Alex Mellor with a try assist, 175 metres and 2 clean breaks. Richie Myler, who was the star of the show with 2 tries, 2 try assists, 8 tackle busts and 149 metres. Tom Briscoe getting more used to that centre spot with a try, 2 try assists, 138 metres and 2 clean breaks. And Brad Dwyer with 6 tackle busts, 138 metres and 3 successful offloads. For the losing Salford side, Morgan Escaray gave Salford fans a glimpse of what he could do on the wing in this game. 1 try, 7 tackle busts, 201 metres, 3 clean breaks. Rhys Williams, 7 tackle busts, 170 metres. Tuilola here in action at fullback, 6 tackle busts, 144 metres. And Chris Atkin with a try and 136 metres, 95 of which came on that try, where I think he's arguably one of the best interceptors in Super League. He seems to come up with an intercept or two every game.
Yeah.
Disciplinary from this one, Sarah. Are you ready?
I am ready. I'm sitting comfortably now.
So, Brad Dwyer of Leeds Rhinos, a dangerous contact grade A, no match penalty notice. Bodine Thompson of the Leeds Rhinos, punching grade B, running in and punching, 1 match penalty notice. Alex Mellor of the Leeds Rhinos, contact with a match official grade B, 1 match penalty notice. Tom Briscoe, Leeds Rhinos, contact with a match official grade A, no match penalty notice. Luke Gale, Leeds Rhinos, punching grade C, 2 match penalty notice. Lee Mossop, Salford Red Devils, punching grade C, 2 match penalty notice. Joe Burgess, Salford Red Devils, punching grade B, like Bodine Thompson running in, 1 match penalty notice. Jack Wells, dangerous throw. This was for the incident he was simbin for, grade C, 2 match penalty notice. And Ryan Lannon, punching grade A, no match penalty notice. 9 charges, of which there are 6 players getting suspensions. What a bloodbath.
Yep. Tom Andrews got in touch and said, less of a game of rugby league, more a game of blood bowl. Salford are just awful. Reckon Marshall's head must be on the block, which is actually a safer place than being within a metre of Lee Mossop's right hood.
Hook. It means hook.
Yeah.
It's not only your dad who does typos. They happen on the other side of Hull as well, it turns out. To be fair, I don't know how we had time to watch this game when he was moving house. Congratulations to Tom and Paige on the new house. But anyway, I mean, I listened to this one on the radio, but I must admit I didn't listen to all of it. I fell asleep during half time and then missed the round of sim binnings in the second half. That now I've seen them, I can only guess they weren't red cards because it happened kind of a bit behind the play, so the match officials weren't as sure about what happened. But it does sound like Luke Gale should have been sent off based on the match review panel findings on the incident.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the rugby before we talk about the boxing.
Whoa, that's a controversial thing to do.
Well, there's more boxing to talk about, so there wasn't loads of rugby. I thought Richie Myler's try just before half time was a really good try. Alex Mellor made the break, found Richie Myler. Leeds were way better at using the space that was provided by the fact that there was 12 players on the pitch for a lot of the game, 11 players on the pitch for a period in the game on each side. So they were way better at using that space. While Salford dug in when they were down to 11 with the Jack Wells sim binning and actually scored that try during that period. Off the back of that, Richie Myler scored his 2 tries and just both very much just before half time, and that kind of undid Salford after all the hard work they'd done during that Jack Wells simbin period. They'd actually got to a position where they were ahead in the match. Or sorry, just behind. Sorry, let me fact check myself. Yeah, it was 8. It was 8-10. Sorry, that kind of at the end of that period, and you thought to Leeds. So Salford were in it, and then those 2 tries just blew it away. And Salford, other than a really nice try from Morgan Escaray down the wing, couple of in and outs and showing his burst of pace to score a good try, that that was that for Salford really. That 10-minute period just before half time, or the last 3 minutes really just before half time, really stung for them. And there is problems there clearly at Salford. They wouldn't be second bottom in the league if there wasn't issues. But all these charges. Where do we start? I assume you've seen the Lee Mossop punch on
Conrad Hurrell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you have done if you were Lee Mossop in that situation and you saw Conrad Hurrell literally running, charging at you off the ball? I'm not sure. I wouldn't have thrown a punch.
Yeah, well, it's like somebody was saying, in self-defence, if it's perfectly acceptable in, legally, somebody coming at you like that, to do that.
Yeah, now, obviously, he still needed to be sent off for it and charged for it, but this brings me back around to some other instances we've seen in games before. The 2014 Grand Final being one of them, where, just because the player's been knocked out doesn't mean he shouldn't be punished for starting it, surely.
Yeah, no. And, let's face it, he wasn't coming to congratulate him or, give him a pat on the back or anything else, was he?
I'd have been terrified if I was Mossop, because Mossop was kind of... And I'm not trying to defend what he did, because he still could have potentially dealt with it in different ways. I don't know. He at the moment, I'm not sure how he would have done it differently, but he was kind of backing away from the tackle, wasn't he? And then he turned round, and obviously all he's seen is 18 stone of Conrad Hurrell running at him.
Yeah.
And so he's just reflex, swung a fist out, happened to catch him absolutely in a boxing sense perfectly. Total knockout. Obviously he failed his HIA, Conrad Hurrell, as well, which is unfortunate, but it seems like he's come round. He was joking on social media and stuff after the game, so fair play there. But yeah.
It's just a really odd thing. I mean, I've seen some Leeds fans trying to defend it like, oh, well, Hurrell isn't the sort to throw punches. But I'm afraid somebody coming charging at you like that, as you said, somebody that size, you don't sit there and think, hang on a minute, what do I know about this guy? Does he have a reputation for throwing punches? You just react.
Yeah, there'd been a bit of a tangle at the play of the ball, hadn't there? I'm not sure what went on there necessarily, but clearly Hurrell took exception to it, whereas Mossop just obviously didn't think much of it. But yeah, and then that led to the melee. You saw Bodine Thompson run quite far to kind of... It was kind of like a Superman in the way that he flew in to make sure he didn't really cock his punch. He just kind of dived with the arm outstretched to the punch. And Joe Burgess got involved as well. I didn't actually see a punch from Joe Burgess, but I haven't analysed the tape as well as the RFL would. But he certainly ran in to the incident as well. And this was where Mellor and Briscoe picked up their charges from as well. If you see, Briscoe kind of looks as if he's trying to run around Robert Hicks, but does sort of brush shoulders with him. And then just after, Alex Mellor basically runs into the side of him as he's trying to get it going. I don't think to get involved with punches, actually. I think to be a peacemaker, but he runs right into the side of Robert Hicks, so totally paying no attention to where the referee was when he was running in to get involved in the melee. Sadly, the second punch-up, we couldn't see as well because the play had kind of moved on. And by the time the camera from the highlights refocuses on it, it seems like much of the damage has been done. But Luke Gale looks to have taken offence to a marginal late hit, a close to late hit. I'm not sure really exactly what it was. It didn't seem much of anything. And if I didn't know that there was sin bins coming up when at that stage of the highlights, I wouldn't have thought. I would have assumed they were going to score a try, sort of thing, if it was any other game. But yeah, we didn't get to see just how much Luke Gale wailed in there. But frustrating week for Luke Gale, despite his team winning him and him scoring a decent try.
Yeah, maybe it was too much playing both.
Well, Leeds had... they had Leeming, Gale, Allegski, Pryor all backing up into the starting lineup as well from the Friday night game, which is it takes its toll, especially as they've got 2 games coming up over the next week. I know one of them's only against Lee, but that game now with all these suspensions, one gets a question of whether it could be a walkover circumstance that we're looking at, which would be really questionable when it comes to the integrity of the relegation positions. And 2, Lee have got a chance with all the players out.
Yeah. I was going to say which Salford won't appreciate, but then maybe they've probably got themselves to blame then.
A little bit of it is on them, isn't it? You've got to say, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, shall we move on? Do you want to take us through the standings?
Yeah. So Catalan stay top on 90%. St Helens hold on to second without playing on 77.78%, with Warrington just behind on 77.27%. Wigan are fourth on 70%, with Hull FC chasing them down on 68.18%. Hull KR make up the top 6 on 60%. Castleford have 45%, Leeds have 44%, Wakefield have 33%, Huddersfield have 30%, and Salford have 18%. Lee are still bottom on 0%.
Stat line of the week. We're not even going to get into the Super League games. We didn't get the full stat line, but it was still very impressive what we did get to see that the RFL put out there. Tara Jane Stanley, 288 metres in England women's win over Wales. Considering she also came off for the last 10-15 minutes, it's even more impressive, isn't it?
Very, very much so, yeah.
Who's your player of the week?
I don't know, actually. I feel like I haven't really seen enough to... do you know something? I'm going to give it something that I really don't like. Sam Tompkins. I just think he had a good game for England.
Well, there you go. I'm gonna stick with the women's game for player of the week, and I can't actually pick one, so I'm gonna name like 5. Tara Stanley was great. Shona Hoyle won player of the match in the game. She was really good off the bench, but so was Chantel Crowell, who came into this team at the same time. So both those two had 16, 17 carries, all really powerful, all really imposing, but Hoyle got the try, so maybe that's why she edged ahead. Emily Rudge, the captain, with 2 tries. She's an outstanding player. And Georgia Roach struggled to get into the game at the start. I think she was maybe, trying too much, trying too hard, not really playing what she thought she should play rather than what she was seeing. But then she sort of opened up and threw a couple of really lovely long passes out to the left wing, one for Caitlin Beaver's try, and then one for when an even better one when Georgia Wilson came on and grabbed her try. So hard to pick out of them, really, to be honest. So players of the week for me. What about highlight of the week?
Mark Sneed's drop goal.
Just because you feel like it was never going to happen again.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. Yeah, he's not kicked one in 11 matches or something ridiculous like that.
And about 87 attempts.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the try just before half-time in the wheelchair game, the one I described earlier on. I thought that was a great try, and the total disregard for their bodies as they flew into the back wall of the sports hall was a sight to behold, I think, for the Wales defender and the England attacker in that. In terms of the predictions, Super and Fantasy League, I went 3 out of 5 in the predictions last week, which feels better than I actually thought I did. And Tim went 4 out of 5. In the host Subaru, Alan is top despite a wooden spoon week this week. David's wearing the yellow cap in second. Tim's third, Sarah's fourth, and I am last. In the main Subaru, our friend Simon Lees takes over at the top of the table. So still a Cas fan, but a different Cas fan at the top. Louis Banks has the yellow cap on this week, and Fantasy League, well, we don't talk about that anymore because it's broken. Thanks everyone for all the reviews on those matches. Make sure you get your fan views in on next week's matches when we're going to have well, it's reducing number of matches all the time, but about 8.